started just because I have very big eyes, and I have 2 different potential activities for us to do when I'm through telling you our Cinderella story of our Get Wise Center at Florida Atlantic University. So I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name's Angel Nevin. I have a long and proud history at Florida Atlantic University. I have my undergraduate degree in psychology from that institution. I have my master's degree in educational leadership and higher ed from FAU. And I am currently all but dissertation at Florida Atlantic University. So I'm going for the trifecta. I also work there. I'm Assistant Director of University Advising Services, and I'm mainly charged with working with our at-risk population, as well as our late-night student support center in one of our residence halls, Glades Park Tower. So in the beginning, hi, come on in. In the beginning of this whirlwind type of initiative here, we had space on campus out of nowhere, and everybody wanted a piece. Isn't that true in all institutions? How many of you have more than enough space to do with what you'd like? Right. So we had to figure out a way to make it a collaborative effort so that everybody could get a little bit of something that they wanted. So we ended up collaborating between academic affairs and student affairs. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, that's a fairy tale, that never works. It actually has worked out exceptionally well for us. I'm very fortunate. So with that in mind, I'm going to tell you the Cinderella story of our Get Wise Center, and then I will be handing over the wand to all of you, hopefully if we get the chance, and we're going to go ahead and try to create your own rags to riches story. And I started with the quote from Walt Disney that all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Oftentimes when you talk about collaborating across campus, we've tried that before, it never works, so-and-so's not interested. Well, they weren't 5 minutes ago, but we're different people every day, right? So perhaps they are today. Maybe they went to a conference that changed their mind frame. So be courageous in your pursuit. So once upon a time, there was a wondrous place, and it was called Outtakes. It was a convenience store located conveniently, get it, in Glades Park Tower Residence Hall. It was open late night. I believe they were open till about 10 o'clock at night, and it had anything a freshman could want. From a toothbrush to chips to Tylenol, you name it, energy drinks, coffee, tea, they had it. And then, all of a sudden, they were gone. They vanished, never to be seen again. So of course, when something like that happens on campus, everyone comes in, and advising wanted to do, advising in the residence halls and have that come through, and career development wanted to be there for workshops and to really engage their freshman students. And the learning centers wanted in. So we had tutoring biting at it, we had writing consultants biting at it, and everyone was very, very strong in that conversation. Hi. And for good reason. They all had exceptional reasoning behind their want to be in this center. You couldn't pick a best. So what we chose to do was try to flip it in a way that everyone could be happy. So there was a twinkle in the distance. We had some very advantageous godparents who came in and wanted to be a part of this and wanted to help, wanted to give resources to make this initiative happen. Some really important people that we had at the table. Our Dean of Undergraduate Studies on the academic affairs side. Our tutoring, advising, and writing consultants are also on our academic side of the house. Student affairs side of the house, we were so fortunate. The Associate VP of Student Affairs and Dean of Students 100% on board to have this center built. Also, the Career Development Office, housing, exceptional partnership with housing. We couldn't do it in a residence hall without them. And obviously, residential life. Lots of voices, I have to tell you, at the table. So, you know, as every relationship goes, there were some disagreements. Some people wanted it to be, oh, I want 90% this, 10% that, you need to come up with the funding. You know, much like trying to find that perfect partner or a beautiful princess, they're hard to find, but once they're released, everyone wants to dance. So we came to an agreement, thank goodness, and it was fantastic. The space would be shared equally. The space would be named, and we named it Getwise. I don't know if you know, but Florida Atlantic University is the Owls, so it made perfect sense. You saw the beginning picture. It was dilapidated at best. The floors were creaky, and it smelled like a convenience store. So we were going to really modernize. And the space was going to be used only in the evenings, not on Fridays. So we came up with Monday through Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m. Kind of trying to appease that idea that that room was typically late night anyway, not to mention by doing it in the evenings in a residence hall, they're typically home and we're not competing with our 8 to 5 offices. We're actually just giving them the option of continuing those conversations and those learning experiences in the evening when we know they are predominantly home. That's when a lot of the programming for housing happens as well. In the beginning, they said, this is going to be available to everyone. The whole enrollment, 30,000 students. Well, we lost a couple of slippers in the advent of this creation. There was definitely security and safety concerns. So how do we get non-residential students who don't live in that residence hall, how do we make sure that that's a safe space? And how do we make sure students feel that it's a safe space? The other thing, everybody wants a piece. Where's the money? Who's going to put in the amount? Maybe one office is a revenue generating office and the other isn't. Is it going to be equal? How could it be? Code compliance as well. When I tell you that there were minimal electricity sockets in that space, that was the least of our problems. There was not one telephone line, not one internet line, and it was definitely not ADA compliant in any way, shape, or form. So that was certainly the largest slipper that we had to contend with. And then tracking software. Academic advising uses Starfish. Career development uses theirs. Writing and tutoring uses TutorTrack. They all are housed within this center for 20 hours a week. So how are we going to do that? Do I have to have all programs on one computer for all programs? Can we find something that fits? So that certainly put a kink in our skirt, if you will. And then communication transparency. It was not known to the academic side of the house that there was actually a student affairs person in housing that had educational impact in his kind of like frame. So in the first few weeks, those conversations were not happening. The coordinator and this academic and education person weren't coming together. And adequate staffing and funding. So you're telling me that I have to run my tutoring center with my current budget for the whole semester, just like I have been, plus make sure that we have enough tutors in your space. So, certainly a lost slipper, right? And then, of course, space utilization. Well, the writing center likes to work with people this way, and tutors like to work face-to-face. And advisors are really afraid that we're going to have those intimate conversations that we don't want to have in front of everyone in a large center. And career development is thinking to themselves, I would love to have a small office to put all of my pamphlets in and my information while I'm there. So there were a lot of conversations to be had to make this an equal partnership as much as we could. So we had a happy-ish ending. For the security concerns, we decided that only the residents from Glades Park Tower were going to be allowed to utilize this. It really helped with the utilization as well, because it's a freshman dorm. So we knew, for the most part, they were in 1,000, 2,000 level courses. That helped exceptionally. For the funding sources, we got lucky, because the VP of Student Affairs was very into this as an initiative, and he and the Dean of Undergraduate Studies found the money to the tune of $90,000 to renovate the space and turn it into our learning center. For code compliance, the architect with whom I worked was instrumental. She was in a PhD program, super code compliant, knew everything. All of my sockets are upside down, come to find out that's to code because it grounds. I never would have known things like that. Helping me order furniture that's ADA compliant, ensuring that everything goes together, making sure that, because I typically just wear black or a dress, so that wasn't my wheelhouse. Colors that were going together that still matched our university, but wouldn't be too bright. For the tracking software, we decided the tutor track was best based on the fact that 2 out of the 4 entities in that center utilized it already. So what ended up happening was the 2 entities went on business as usual, and the other 2 used that for sign-in, and then went to their own software as an individual to track on their end. Worked out pretty well. As far as communication transparency, again, worked out very well. There were weekly meetings established between University Advising Services and our housing staff, and both of us reported to our uppers. So Student Affairs was kept completely on task with everything, and Academic Affairs, the information went up as well. So that was very, very good. And then as far as space utilization went, we had to try to find a very innovative way to market our center. We piloted this in spring, this term. So the very first semester it's open. Last semester, fall, the same students were living in that residence hall, and they walked past that room every day for an entire semester, and it was closed. And it was dark, and it meant nothing to them. So to try to instill in them the idea that it is open, it's welcoming, it's not closed. I mean, up until like 3 weeks ago, I still had residents passing the room and saying, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" So I mean, we tried to be very innovative in our marketing. I went on a candy campaign and did just very corny kind of things with candy. So like, "You're no dum-dum, come and show everyone," and like taped it onto a piece of paper and put it in their mailboxes, or like, "Avoid parental Snickers, come and get tutored." Things of that nature. I'm full of them. So if at the end of the presentation you'd like to pick my brain on the super corny candies, please be my guest. So then we had our rags to riches story. We went from, that's my purse. We went from an outtakes, you can see that it says outtakes on the window. This is an upside down couch from housing that was just living there. It was broken. There's other random garbage that you can't see. That is a sink. There was another sink on the other side. So part of our renovation was removing said sinks. But to save money on the renovation, we ended up taking the sink and all of this hardware here and moving it into where their storage closet was. That's now our break room. So that was super fantastic. And again, my PhD architect was very smart with that. And then we come to this, same door, same window. From top to bottom, we redid the lighting to make it more appropriate for learning as far as the environment is concerned. The carpet cut down on sound considerably from the from the wood. The colors were just nice. What do you think? Good. It's not bad, right? It's definitely different. Here's another view of the countertop. That was outtakes. There's the infamous couch again, creeping into the side of the view. But as you can tell, it's not a very large space, right? I mean, it was a small convenience store. So we had to design the dream. And again, working with our architects and everyone, this was the layout that we chose to go with. This is where our students sign in. Since Writing Center likes to be next to each other, we have them here. Since tutors like to be together looking at one-on-one, we have that as well. We have 5 different whiteboards, and we have 3 cutout rooms. They are not full to the ceiling. They're about 6 feet, so they're about a foot above my head. And they have folding panel privacy doors, which is great. One is larger, this one is a bit larger. And then these 2 are smaller. They, only one of them is ADA compliant, but I believe that's the only thing we really needed to do. We also have like a little coffee corner here. So comfortable chairs that students can just come and read and study. And the outlets there have 2 of the outlets and 2 USB ports, so you can charge whether or not you have one of the connectors. And this here is a computer bar. So we marketed with love. As you know, in the spring term or winter term, however you qualify that, Valentine's Day comes. So we encourage students to come in with candy and told them that if they come in and they do a little heart, they would get a kiss. Well, it was really like a full-on bag of candy that they ended up getting. And that got us actually a lot of students to come in. I was very surprised. Like, I know in student affairs, at least at my institution, they say never underestimate a well-placed pizza. So I don't have pizza money, but I definitely had candy money. So made those with the days, times, handed them out to residents. We had a couple left over. We were handing them out as they were walking in. And it was really nice to see what students had to say about the center. We let them put little hearts on there. As you can see, they love Get Wise Academic Advising. I didn't write that. And then we marketed with humor. They just didn't notice that the center was open. They still thought it was this closed room. So I had that big window. And we must ask you a question. It's very popular and trendy right now. We had our graduate students cut it out and it went great. You don't really know me, but I'm not very much a Disney person. It just really came out like that here. I have children, I have small children. So this one here, we tried to be kind of inventive with our, with our marketing, if you will. So before registration, we asked them, do you want to build a schedule? Yeah. And that's the last I'll do of singing. So we sent that around, and it really just caught their eye. It was something different. It wasn't that stock, random Excel sheet with a schedule on it. So it was kind of different. So I'm sure you're wondering, where are we now? Again, we're in our infancy. We've only been open since the 5th of January, but in that time, and I just ran the numbers today because I've been out for a few days. So this number is actually 298 right now, which is fantastic. This residence hall holds 500 students. So to be at almost 300 visits, I'm happy with that. The academic advising portion has been well utilized. We were able to assist 69 students. Career counseling is up at 40 right now. Tutoring, we're well over the 100 mark, and even writing consulting, 58 visits. Again, we're only open from 4 to 9, Monday through Thursday. So it's not a bad first semester. Did we hit my goals? Probably not. Will we? Maybe. We gotta set the bar high.
These are not unique visits, right? So
That's correct.
Okay.
But they actually had services rendered. So it wasn't walked in, what is this place? Walked out. It was legitimate services rendered. We do not count just walk-ins or, how long you're here for, none of that. But they are not unique. But even at that, if there are 500 students there and every single one of these visits was a twofer, that's still 150 students. That's still well over 20% of the residence hall, which isn't bad. So now where are we going? This coming fall and spring, we will have all of our Living Learning Community students housed in Glaze Park Tower. That's going to be exceptionally helpful in choosing who our tutors and writing consultants are, because our Living Learning Community students all have the same schedules depending on their community. So we know today what they're taking. We know today who to hire. And then in our other tower, we have regular first-time in college freshmen that are non-learning community specific, which is fine also. They're all freshmen coming in with some, IB, AP. We are closed for the summer, but I do have a meeting to speak with the VP and the Dean of Undergraduate Studies in 10 days, and I have a feeling they might whammy me and ask me to open up a satellite in another residence hall that we are housing students in the summer, so I'm prepared for that conversation, thank goodness. Also, I begged, borrowed, and stole computers. I didn't really steal anything. And they're old. They don't process quickly. The monitor that we use for check-in in the front is like this big. It's really, it's really small. But we were so fortunate to have whatever we had. I wrote a tech fee proposal. I'm not sure if on your campuses you have student fees that you can write proposals for, but I did for this space and was awarded $32,000 to upgrade everything in the center. So we will have all brand new touchscreen sign-ins. We will have that computer bar that I told you about, 4 computers there, about 24-inch monitors, and iPads and Surface Pros that we can lend to the students and the tutors to utilize during their time at the center. What I'm hoping is, again, to get that foot traffic, is that having the large touchscreen sign-in right at the front will really get them thinking about it and have the screensaver come on quickly with the information and kind of get them, we're located right at the front door of the residence hall. So when they come in, unless you're really focused, you're going to see it. And of course, we're going to fine-tune the support based on the peak times and the course enrollment. What we've noticed, 4 to 6, math tutoring is completely underutilized. I have 50% of my math tutoring in the beginning of our time there and 50% at the end, and it's just so lopsided. I wish I knew why. Hopefully at the end of the year, when we do the end of the year survey about GetWise, we'll find out what was the reasoning, why did you attend when you attended. But that will certainly be something for the future because the math tutor in the evening is very busy. Afternoon is bored. Okay, so I did good. Do we have any questions for me? I'm sure tons.
You may have said this, so I apologize, but is the space not used at all 8 to 5?
It is not.
So have any of the partners that you mentioned, for instance, is anyone vying for the space during the 8 to 5 time rather than sharing it in the evenings?
That has not come up yet.
Interesting.
However, some of the staff meetings from these different collaborators have happened in that space because we have the whiteboards. It's open, it's private, it's away from the regular support services building.
So any other question that I have for you, which is completely unrelated to the first question.
Okay.
There's a possibility that we may have the opportunity to share some space at a new area that's being built with the Writing Center. So it would be tutoring, reading skills consultations, writing consultations, all in one space. So even though you haven't been in this new location very long, I'm wondering if you've already seen some things that, if you had known it going in, that you might have changed.
That's a great question. There are, especially in that vein. I wish I would have been introduced to the tutors and the writing consultants and been given a chance to have some sort of interaction with them prior to them showing up first day. I would have liked to be invited to the trainings, maybe even just write a welcome for the binders and the training manuals. So in that regard, I would have changed that, and I plan to in the future. Aside from that, I can't really think of anything. That one sticks out though.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just recently started to remember everyone's name. But I'm only there twice in the evenings. So I'm there Wednesday, Thursday. We have a guest advisor on Mondays, and on Tuesdays we have a full-time person, and then Wednesday, Thursday's me.
Okay, so are you like the director of the center, or do you have to kind of share the supervisory role, or like say when someone comes in for writing? Like, yeah, can you explain that a little bit more?
It's another really good question. I am not the director of the space, but I am charged with the responsibility of managing it. I was charged with the responsibility of ensuring that it stayed on time and task and budget while it was being renovated as well, which was totally out of my wheelhouse, but it was fun. I report sideways to our collaborators, if that makes sense. So all of the tutors report to our assistant director of tutoring and our coordinator for tutoring services. All of our writing consultants report to the director of the writing center. All of our career development folks are full-time administrative, managerial, professional employees, and they report back to their assistant director. So while I'm there, yes, it's kind of like I choose where the movement goes and kind of like curtail inappropriate conversation, if you will, with some of the tutors that aren't being utilized, kind of request that little silly pedantic type things, like don't bring your food out, and things of that nature. And then if I do have to have a conversation with one of the tutors, say for inappropriate conversation, I immediately follow up with their supervisor and tell him, this is the incident that happened, this was the conversation, this is the way I chose to handle it. If you have any feedback moving forward, please let me know, and work with it in that regard.
So they kind of build their own schedule, and then they communicate.
I am at the mercy of the collaborators, so I am told when the tutors will be coming in.
So has there been a situation where maybe tutoring wanted to send in, say 3 tutors at 4 p.m., but the writing center wants also to have 3 people there, and then another, maybe career wants to have 2 people in the space? It's not that large, so
That would be a great problem to have.
Okay. So maybe it's not an issue for you all yet, because I was wondering who's negotiating the actual use of the space and the times and, right.
At this point, we are on the opposite side of the spectrum, and we are doing what we can.
Okay.
That would be a wonderful problem to have. I think, again, in the future, I'll be more involved with the conversations about how many tutors will be there and at what time. I'll write an end-of-term report for each collaborator and send them out with data pertaining to their centers and feedback on their employees, things of that nature, and then from there, we will plan in summer. No, this is great. No, please.
So the advisors that are there, let me back up. So is FAU kind of a centralized model of advising? So I'm just a freshman residence hall, but if someone came in that was an engineering student, and someone came in that was a humanities student, like would they be able to really advise them? Because you had almost 70 visits, which is I think it's great, But I was just curious if the person goes, okay, well here's a little bit of information, but you have to actually go to another advisor.
Right.
So.
That's actually 2 questions with 2 answers.
Sorry.
And no, and my answer is kind of like both. So our advising model for underclassmen, for our freshmen under 45 or 60 credits, is centralized. So we have university advising services. that we are cross-trained in everything, but it's mainly foundation courses, your intellectual foundation, general ed, however you call it at your institution. Some are a little different, like you must take Calc 1 as an engineer, but you can just get away with liberal arts math or finite math for this major, but we are all cross-trained. At the 45 to 60 credit level, then we go to a decentralization where they are absorbed by their college.
So then it could be a situation where you have like a lot of accelerated credit, and then the advisor might say, why don't you meet with your college level?
We actually were able to do even more than that, so I will run an audit and make sure that all of their undergraduate type of lower level requirements have been completed, and then I'll go ahead and assist the student with making an appointment to see their college advisor, because we all utilize software called Starfish, so I can go right in, make the appointment with the advisor, and it will remind the student. So we're actually, it's really good in that regard that I don't have to say things like, well, you gotta go to arts and letters, so good luck with that. It's more like, here it is on the map, this is a picture of what your advisor looks like in arts and letters, this is the day and time your appointment is. And then, remind me what your second part was?
That was really it.
That was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the centralization, and then
Yeah,
how we
yeah. So I'd hate for someone to come and say, oh, well, you're too far along, I can't help you. I don't want to know if it was easy.
And you know what? We're very advantageous like that. So if I couldn't help them, I'd be like, well, what kind of profession are you looking to get into? Because I have a career development person here. And yeah, like, are you in the stage where you're writing a cover letter or a resume? Because you might want to see the writing center. Or, oh yeah, I'm crafty like that. If I can't do something, I'm going to find, like, you're in my center, I'm going to find something for you to do. Go ahead.
So you use tutor track.
Yes.
And so is that what you use for the touchscreen sign-in? Is it synced through that?
That's the way it's going. Yeah, I don't, that has been definitely one of the more difficult to traverse fallen slippers, as far as our institution would like to maybe move away from it, but we've become reliant on it. The current software that we're using for advising doesn't lend itself very easily to what we do as a tutoring and writing consulting establishment, which is large. You went to our center, so we're still in the planning stages, but I believe that Tutor Track will be touchscreen. It's going to have a keyboard as well, but
So what device do you plan on purchasing for the touchscreen capability?
they are HP all-in-ones.
We have a touch screen that we use Tutor Track with the keyboard underneath. It's like wall mounted. It can swing down. We made sure that the mount that we purchased was ADA compliant.
Yes.
So it's, different configurations for different needs of people coming in.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I believe it was like X24, 24X, something of that nature. I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that was close to it. Does anyone else have any other questions? I know it does sound kind of like a weird Cinderella story, right? Like it was just a yucky room that turned into something so beautiful. So what I would like to do, let me see how we're doing on time.
15 minutes.
Okay. All right, so why don't we get into...
Yeah, I was like, how some random lady shouting out time over here. I'm the moderator, so that's my job.
No, yeah, you could have been a random lady. That's phenomenal.
Sorry.
So what I'd like to do, why don't we do you four here, and you four in the back, and you four in the front. That worked out so well. I want you to get into groups and take off your professional hat. So if you are the coordinator of tutoring services, if you are the dean of students, that's not your job anymore. But you can swap with someone in your group. And you take their job. Does that make sense? We're groups of 4. Just swap with somebody in your group. And then I want you to make up a story. Anything hypothetical. It could be a program, it could be a room, it could be an employee, it could be an initiative. Find out what your Cinderella story would be. Find something that's maybe underutilized, that just has potential and you know it's probably there, but who knows. What was interesting was that when I walked into this room, this who's sitting there? Kismet? Maybe? What would you do in a janitor's closet? Never know, might
Or
be.
you make them offices.
No, the ODS tutoring lab.
Yeah.
So, have at it. I'll go around, I'll walk around and make sure that the instructions were given appropriately and you understand what it is you're trying to do. About 6 minutes, yeah? So, what do you actually, what is everybody? Just title.
I have a Slack.
Okay.
I'm the AD of the Athletic Resource Center and the AD of Special Experience Course.
FYE and the Learning Center. That's you now. Oh, awesome, so now you're a graduate assistant. Go ahead.
E-learning
Okay, so
learning technology.
Awesome.
I'm a coordinator for volleyball.
So,
I supervise all of our students. I call them leaders, not students.
oh, okay. Assistants,
I
leaders.
run the testing center and do check.
Well, you don't anymore, she does. Okay, so maybe think of something you've heard out there, something that at your institution would like to see.
It's ours, we teach
And are we coming
teach
from
it
it
instead of being
with
back
our
on
new
first semester.
roles?
So
Yeah. Would I make a story for you?
Yep.
I know it's hard.
Yeah. So
It's gonna be easier for you.
I really have writing sessions. E-testing.
Is that your senior?
It's a job.
Donation?
We're just doing jobs.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Let's share.
Oh my gosh, here she comes.
I was mistaken.
Right,
All right.
That's why I'm here. So, what's your job? Tutor.
Assistant director.
Sorry.
Are required to.
Or our new role is.
So I think you guys are gonna switch jobs? You two are gonna switch jobs. So far, so good? So you are looking at this through the lens of someone else.
I believe required of our.
Now you get to make up something. So like, you know,
I guess from
I don't
what I've
think
seen,
that
okay.
urban students on my campus are properly catered to.
Not,
How can we, as a group, make that happen?
with all of the academics.
You know? Or like, we just went through a hurricane.
You know, our writing center is separate.
You know what I mean? And now we have this huge clearing of land.
Okay.
What are we
Doing
gonna
so
do?
much, but it's like.
How can we make that into something
More of these
that
things.
kind of impacts students? And it's really, the sky's the limit, because this is your imagination. You're gonna have to use your own
County
institution in about 4 minutes. But it's you.
So why don't you just student success does their own too? And so we do tutoring for math.
Don't forget.
At the hours that the math department does. And, you know, but
It's Wacky
they don't
Wednesday, so
know like
like,
everything, so writing center.
so like as a graduate student, I would be there to,
We should have
pull
one
in.
center where all these
Does that kind of make sense? Got it?
That's where they go.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying, every center, but you know, it's like, this is where they go. If they need help, this is where they go. And we don't know that yet.
Yes, we just have to do one big.
That's what I'm talking about.
Department has their own staff. And then.
So what kind of situation has helped you as a group, as a collaboration, make that transition?
If I had a magic wand, that's what I would do.
University.
University in the testing center.
Outstanding.
I'm here. I thought that was
They were.
Yeah.
what they close the
Oh, you're identifying for English. Outstanding. Outstanding. All right, thank you. Exactly. Oh, well, I left it to the godparents because they don't get those jobs.
So it's just like for informational state,
Yeah.
things like financial skills. We just got a license for Camtasia, where you can do Camtasia. It's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right there.
Exactly.
What am I gonna do? This giant art lab.
How can you make that next to our
And
life?
it's so easy for someone who's so like
Love.
video literate.
Because we can essentially take over, we're in Library West, we're in an extended piece of the library.
Like maybe if it's
Above us,
located
we have
in
a
the
space right
center,
there, but that could all be
and I might just
the
watch
center
on
for academic.
HGTV, but you know, let's not the wall and incorporate it, you know, so that it's not necessarily trying to utilize the space, but maybe making an adjacent space large. That could work. So you guys actually
It's been the same
I just that letter.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just looking for a walk.
Yeah.
Really?
Or like a workshop that goes over, so first week break it up.
Do you want this to more than
Do
Do you have something to, and you know what, as, yep, as passionate professionals, that's what happens in conversation, so absolutely, keep going.
I mean, like something for like a cooler academic center, or even like
Kind of, it's the art.
I mean, our
Because they have visitors permits.
Set
up or gallery.
You can't roll the chair out. You can't open the door. Like it's.
So what did you, have some rooms around you? Is it difficult to find your way around your
Whose pockets they're padding.
Well, I know that our coming up with kind of a family job of getting us an abstract.
Maybe we are overthinking it and I think we're. Yeah, that's what you back there and see how that's what happened. Where is the room?
She takes it up there.
Yeah.
She's like, "That's what they want."
Oh, absolutely.
I can get.
Oh, absolutely, and then it becomes,
But-
study closet,
Yeah.
because you automatically are always thinking of passionate professionals, and this is, I need to
Better
do
than
this,
something
I can't think about your imaginary thing, and this is what's happening. So for anything, I would hope that that was a learning experience
They
as
have
well,
their
that's something we
advisors,
should do,
and there's
as
lots of
much as we
things
try
with
to look at it
them.
from somebody else's.
But it's different.
that
But
was
then there's
the
also
thing that we-
undergraduate
that we had
studies
to come-
advising now
come through, so I was
that
like,
works with.
why is this housing also?
There's
Something that
It's more
But then when I kind of tried to wrap
Yes,
this,
it's our summer break program students.
Right.
then it was different, then I went at it like, oh, that was my fault, I should have been more aware, and like, just that one little putting on somebody else's hat for a quick second, it
Yeah, we did a presentation on.
it's hard to get out of my brain.
We do, they're tutoring in the residence halls from 8 to 10, and we used to do it from 7 to 9. And we found a big increase in servicing, just going down 1 hour later. So you're mentioning the 146, you know, especially being in the res hall, for a lot of students, they are key.
Yep.
Because they're out and about, they're at house, they're at the library, we're eating dinner, there's, you know, and so I
But
would,
where I struggle with.
I would imagine
Okay,
that's probably where your lack of
to be
traffic
able to
definitely coming from. But
students
then you
from
have a
high
problem
school
with
and college and college. So, you know, say they start educating, so they've been coming to campus, and they know they've gone to academic achievement for college algebra, and biology, and all these things, and they get to accounting, and then all of a sudden accounting's not really side.
Yeah.
It's like, why
Yeah,
confuse
we
them?
have 3 staff members in the tutoring Tuesday.
It's like, just keep
Yeah, and
all.
2 of them are
Really
parents,
sensitive
and one of them just goes back to her, she was
Right,
there.
because that's what
But
we
the
have
other
to,
two do
we
have
love this state,
get
we know that our services
Right.
are being desired now, we know that students.
Yeah, so at that point, I
Yeah.
was like, whether or not
Because
they
the woman walks
could
in,
handle it.
she's looking for a schedule, we have a little budget,
She was able to
she
handle
says,
like last
oh,
half hour.
goodness, I'm gonna give Ness Eiley this semester, I think I just got it one last semester.
But even then, you offer them the position and they take it.
Okay, so she is saying, there was a
Who am I to
reason,
tell you how
it was
to
not
manage
that much
your
cost.
time and money?
Yeah.
So she was to do it, you'll be there.
Yeah.
That they're
Let me do it.
Where's
our monthly.
I just heard that. I just heard it too. I was like, why should I listen to New York?
It's so good, I never
Yeah,
take it, right?
nothing.
It was to meet LTAs.
I was like, she's not from here. Right.
No, it's actually so interesting, like, kids have a little bit of it, born and raised in Florida. Tutors and they games that have. So I'm actually very proud of myself, I was like, and they give up their
We are establishing community leaders, we're establishing habits, and she'll probably roll out in the spring. I had sent an FCLCA with some question about it to find, because I wasn't here now to do it.
Till the end of the session?
Well, April's already being tutored, so she's here.
If I could get your attention for just one moment, I don't want to stop the magic. See, Disney, I know, it's getting terrible now. So, please continue having the conversations with your group. I know that a lot of our conversations ended up morphing to something that's actually happening on our campuses, which is great. Hopefully you just found 3 or 4 different voices, comrades, if you will, that you can continue this conversation well after the conference. And as you leave, the second activity that we didn't get to, because honestly you guys were really firing on all cylinders and I wasn't going to stop it, work independently, put on your own hat now, try to identify who your key stakeholders are. With whom do you work well? Maybe start there, have that conversation, go to lunch. Just talk in an environment that's not so sterile, if you will. And then just try to imagine your own real life Cinderella story. Find something that has that potential. And then find your collaborators that can help turn your mice into men and pumpkins into carriages, and I'll stop. Thank you so much for joining me at the end of the conference. I'm really good having you.